Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends from DVC Resale Market, Miss Marissa Valentine.
Hello, hello.
From DVCRentalStore.com, Mr. Paul Krieger.
Hey, everybody.
And from MoneraFinancial.com, his lovely wife, Ms. Amy Krieger.
Hello.
And joining us in the Nook as our producer, Mr. John Sakari, also known as Big Fat Panda from BigFatPanda.com.
Thank you again for the plug.
And maybe about to become the newest DVC member.
I think the fever has gotten to me. Yeah. It's not even add-on-itis. It's first-time-itis.
Everybody wants to join. These shows do it. These shows.
It definitely does. By the end of the day, I should have a contract done.
And it happened to me doing these shows. Mm-hmm. Happened to Fiasco doing these shows. It's happening to you doing these shows. Not to mention the number of individuals watching that have joined up from watching these shows. We hear that all the time.
It'd be crazy to know like the total number of points sold just by people.
I wonder if we
Wouldn't
should
that be crazy?
try to calculate that.
You should. I would want to know that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yep.
I mean, when people call in, do you ask where they heard?
So it's so funny. People, we'll ask them. Not everybody will say when they call in. They'll put sometimes like on our comment box, but we have like a chat system on our website. And so I'll chat with a lot of people throughout the day on there. And so many people go, Marissa from Pete's show.
We were driving in this morning and I was checking Amy's emails for her while she was driving. And she got an email that came into her Monera inbox that said, Amy, I saw you were wearing glasses on the show this week. Are those new?
It is true. And they're not new.
Our fashion choices are highlighted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of glasses like Paul does, but I try to wear contacts so I can wear sunglasses when I drive. So,
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
Florida sun and I-4, so.
As opposed to getting prescription sunglasses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have too many. It would cost me a fortune with the number of sunglasses I have to do that. All right. So, just a reminder, this show, along with all the DVC content we produce, brought to you by the world of DVC. That includes DVCResaleMarket.com, where you can pick up a great deal on a resale contract to become a DVC member. DVCRentalStore.com, where you can rent out your points or rent points if you'd like to try before you buy. Or maybe you're running low on points, like I'm doing, and renting points for a stay at the Grand Californian next year. And of course, the crack dealers of the DVC world, MoneraFinancial.com, where you can finance your DVC purchase. And it's very easy to do that because they just say yes. That's it. That's their whole vetting process is, okay. So thank you to those guys for sponsoring us, for making these shows and this content possible. And as always, if you like our content, please show your support by supporting our sponsors. All right. This week, we are going to talk about the reopening of the Top of the World Lounge. Paul and Amy got a chance. Were invited. Mm-hmm. I was stunned when Craig told me that the invitation had come through for us. To check out the preview of the new lounge, now done as in a villain's theme. And I was stunned that we got that invite. Stunned. Because I really thought for sure there was no way. But how is it? I'm dying to know.
I loved it. It is everything that you always remember Top of the World Lounge being, just with a little bit of a villainous theming to it. So the story that they've put out there is that while the lounge was closed, the villains got into the space and caused some chaos. And
by villains, you mean the executives at DVC.
And that's why you're shocked you got the invite.
That's comments like that are the reason I am shocked we got invited.
Please invite us back. So they went in, they caused some shambles and stuff like that. So they basically had to re-gut the space. And
sounds right so far. I mean, this sounds perfectly normal.
And so with the renovation, they have added some villainous touches because basically those villains have left behind some things that they cannot remove.
Resale restrictions.
Yeah. Oh, we're never coming back. The lounge itself, though, for those of you that have been there, so Top of the World Lounge is, everything that it was, it still is.
Well, let's make sure for those who don't know. Top of the World Lounge located at the top of Bay Lake Tower at the Contemporary. And this is a members-only lounge. And one of the changes that we should mention is that this is now only for direct members. They are not allowing people who have purchased resale to go up there. You have to be a direct member in order to go up there. It's considered part of the membership extras, which is really, really, really crappy. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I think just to go along with that point, for those of you that remember going to the lounge and just showing up, keep in mind that they're doing other things in this space as well that are maybe not giving you a guaranteed seat, even if you are a direct member and you show up at that lounge. So they've also, as part of its reopening, introduced what they call the Wicked Wind Down event, which is $55 per person plus tax and gratuities. But what that gets you is a reserved table, an appetizer, a drink, and a dessert while you're up in the space. So all in all, a decent deal when you factor all of those things into it. But that is what really gives you that reserved table or that reserved seat up there now. Whereas if you just show up, there's no guarantee that you might get a seat. You might have to sit outside on the balcony or on the patio or stand maybe at the bar or something like that. So just keep in mind that there are a lot of changes, and as Pete mentioned, the biggest of which being that only direct members, so on your digital membership card, it's got to show that DVCY indication on that membership card for you to have access to go up to the lounge. And a lot of this stuff is very fluid right now, so keep in mind that things could change in terms of just what their requirements are for the space and stuff like that. But
yeah, you also have to be staying on property at a Disney hotel. If you're going up, according to the rules on the website right now, it says that you could be paying cash for a hotel room, you could be using your points, but those count for access to the lounge currently. But I really think that a lot of it is just trying to manage pent-up demand, and a lot of people have been waiting for this lounge to open for a really long time, and so they're just trying to kind of crowd control it that way. Eventually, in all of our experiences of being up there, it's never been really crowded. Do you really remember? So I wonder, once that demand kind of dies down, if we might see some changes.
I think, look, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to numbers. That lounge has to show profit. And if they are not showing profit because they're not allowing enough people up with these ridiculous restrictions, then they'll backtrack on it. That's the thing with these perks. They can change and do change rapidly.
Yeah, and I think really the space probably pre-pandemic was not making money. If I had to actually guess, there's a decent number of people that actually go up to that space, but are everyone going up to that space? Are they buying drinks? Are they buying appetizers? Are they getting dessert? Or are they just sitting there waiting for the fireworks?
Oh, I've heard stories of people bringing coolers up to watch the fireworks.
Yeah.
So my friend was the former head manager for food and beverage at Bay Lake Tower and Contemporary. And so they oversee Top of the World Lounge. And that was the location that they hated managing because so many of the cast members just weren't making money or tips because people would just go up there and hang out. So I don't think the paid for like reservation is a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think that's great where you can guarantee your seat. I to your point, I've been there many times and it's never been super full. So now you're going to say, okay, now you're going to restrict it to only people staying on property and only direct members. So that's going to limit it even more versus what if you just opened it up, let everybody prepay for the reservation, then you're guaranteeing $55 a seat and you'll probably fill it. But that's me if I ran DVC.
Yeah.
Yeah, and $55 per person for a drink, an appetizer, and a dessert. In that space,
It's not bad.
I can't say I can't say I have a problem with that. I can't say I have a problem with that. And one of the shows we're going to get to in the coming weeks is going to talk about the rumor going around about them adding paid perks for members. And honestly, as a member, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. I don't want them to do it. I'd rather them be free. But I understand the world we live in. I sure as hell understand the company we're dealing with. Botchagaloop the peddler is going to charge for every nickel and dime they can get.
What is that from?
Oh, that's just an expression I've heard for years. You've heard that before,
It's a
Botchagaloop.
big Italian thing, bachagaloop.
Botchagaloop.
When somebody's like a fool, look at this bachagaloop.
Being cultured.
What's that?
I said I'm being cultured as we speak.
It's Jersey, New York Italian stuff. But I don't particularly have a problem with it.
Yeah.
To guarantee a space, that's always a concern for me when I go up top of the World Lounge. Am I going to have a table? Or, because you don't know. To guarantee a table, guarantee the drink, the appetizer. And the appetizer menu, the menu looks really good, the new menu.
Yeah, they've added a couple new dishes to the menu, and I think though that people that remember the old menu, a lot of it is similar items, but with a villainous name change or something like that. I don't think that there was nothing necessarily bad that we had throughout the entire evening. Obviously, since we were invited out by Disney, we're not necessarily going to review those items or anything like that. But everything that we were presented throughout the evening was good. They've still got the 7-layer cake, which is what everyone was hoping that they would keep around. One question we didn't get answered that I've heard a couple people mention since we posted our video and our content on it is whether or not it's still basically like an open bar. I would assume so, like in terms of if you have a certain drink that you would want them to make for you off menu.
Yeah,
that they
it
would
looked
still
like
be
they
able to
had
do
a
it.
full stock bar.
It seemed like they had a full stocked bar. So a lot of people, I think it's the Monorail Yellow is a drink that many people remember getting up at the top of the World Lounge, if I remember correctly. So I assume they could probably still make it for you or make something similar or close to that.
The drink menu is, I don't want to say adorable. I don't know the word, but whoever came up with that drink menu, it is cute. You know what I mean? Like, it's very villainy. The drinks are really cool. The presentation of them is really cool. And we tried many of them and they were really good. So whoever was in charge of that was kind of a neat touch as well.
Each item is inspired by some movie villain theme. So like one of the items, Who's Afraid of Pork Belly Sliders? So I assume that's like a big bad wolf play.
Now, let me point something out because I got this information. The pork belly sliders is the same pork belly coming out of the Steakhouse 71 kitchen for the bacon and eggs. So they are taking that pork belly and they are shredding it and making these pork belly sliders. I am dying to try it.
Well, I will not review it, but that explains why I got a second plate of them.
Okay. Great way to not review that.
Right? That makes a whole lot of sense. But yeah, to what Amy said, a lot of the food, and I think if I remember correctly, I don't think they actually have a kitchen there necessarily at the top of the world. So they've got to be bringing all that food over probably for the Steakhouse 71's kitchen, and then having it stored upstairs in some sort of heated area or something like that.
But at the end of the day, the lounge looks very similar to what it was. All the things that people were hoping didn't change. The big chandelier is still there. The monorail glass behind the bar is still there. It still looks very much like Top of the World Lounge. The theming isn't, going to knock you off your socks immersive. It's something that they can switch out pretty easily, change up the theme, maybe once in a while. But we enjoyed it. We liked the new furniture. We liked the new space. And it's still a great place to, have a snack and watch fireworks.
Yeah. We overheard some people talking when we were there that I believe that a plan is going to be to swap out this theming from some time to time. It is subtle enough. The one major villain artwork piece is one of those like Samsung, picture frame televisions. Mm-hmm. So you could easily just pop up some Christmas pictures, and now you've got maybe they keep a little bit of a villainous theme, but it becomes like the Nightmare Before Christmas lounge at Christmas time or something like that.
Right.
So they can easily just transition that theming,
which I think is smart.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a smart way to do it.
Mm-hmm. And I think it'll get people to come back more for those paid add-ons or for a paid party or things like that. Mm-hmm. As part of the media preview event, and also what I believe were the paid events this past weekend that were sold out, they also had some character actors that were within the space, sort of roaming around, playing various different villains and chatting with everybody that was in the space. I'm not sure that that's actually going to be a full part of the space when it reopens to the public, which for us, that's tonight. So today is July 11th. So the space actually reopens for the first day for the general public tonight. So I don't know that will really probably be a norm, but it kind of be cool if it was, but I can't see that being sustainable long term for the space.
They also added some outdoor seating, which I don't think they had before.
No, they
right?
didn't.
No.
And so that's a really nice touch because it's just a great place to sit, and beautiful view. So I really, we liked everything they did. There's been some members that were disappointed. They were expecting a little bit more from the theming, but I think it was smart the way they went about it.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that people are continuing to talk about is just the fact that it's no longer open for resale members, which is unfortunate, like we've already talked about. I think that it is limiting, like you said, Marissa, their clientele in terms of the number of people that they can get up there. And if you had I always go back to what Bob Chapek said when parks were reopening and things like that. We would not reopen something unless it contributed to the bottom line in a positive manner. And I think that was one of the reasons why Top of the World Lounge is one of the last things that's coming back, is because it was one of those negative producers in that regard.
But do you think these additional resale restrictions that they're doing with things like this, do you think that's an indication that maybe direct sales aren't going as well as they'd like?
We've seen that, like even last month, it was one of like the lowest sales months that Direct has had in the this year so far. And when you look at the products that they have, I mean, when I was there and I had first started with DVC, Grand Floridian was our flagship product. And it sold like you would not believe. Like it was crazy to start with DVC at that time because I was like, oh, this is the best job in the world. Everybody wants what we have. So to see that and then to see them now struggle to sell Grand Floridian implies to me that they're probably having sluggish overall sales.
Yeah. I really think that's also related to, people adding on versus new members. I think they're really struggling with new member sales because when you go back to the Grand Floridian idea, the first month of Grand Floridian, when for about half of a month or so, I believe it was only add-on sales. And that was one of the best months ever for that resort. And then it opened up to everyone and nothing. So I really think, it was really, it's still selling. It's still selling well. It's outselling Riviera right now just by a bit, but
Riviera's been selling for 2 years.
Yeah. And so it's surprising that
they've lost that campaigning that they've done, and because they took since COVID the switch to go into the more boutique route, they've lost that like push with their associate salespeople. Those are the ones you see in the parks or on the ship. Even the ship, they weren't doing as much of the presentations. Now they're finally bringing that back. So I think it'll be interesting the remainder of this year if they really take that switch and go, hey, we're going to start bringing back like a push for like the advanced sales associates to start bringing in leads because they weren't really lead generated. It was more, what do we have that we can really kind of work with and incubate versus bringing brand new people in the door.
Interesting. Well, John's going to buy some direct points.
Let me tell you and I'm only doing the direct to do that benefit thing, and then I'll do the add-on-itis resale with you guys. But it's all virtual now. Like, you don't go in and you could speak to someone and do a tour, but apparently they send you all the documents virtual. You're not sitting in an office. And I don't know if they're treating me different because they know they've already got me, but they're not cutthroat salespeople like I thought.
No, they're not at all. Ever.
I felt like they should have been a little bit more aggressive to get me once I said I was.
That's not their brand.
I guess so. Yeah, that's good.
It's not their brand. That's been the case for years and years and years. That they don't do the timeshare hard sell. It's not like that at all. And that's one of the things I respect the most about DVC. That they don't do that. That they don't play that game.
Yeah.
They let the product sell itself, and the product does sell itself. You know, you had to convince your husband to let you buy. What did you do? You brought him over to Riviera.
And the first thing he said, and I'm sorry I'm going to make him sound stupid, he doesn't sound like this, but he has to in my recreation. He goes, I think we're going to need more points. But that was after he wasn't convinced at all. So.
Exactly. And that's the power of the product. You know, you'll hear me moan and complain about certain things, but it's the decisions being made by executives at DVC. The product itself, I'm in love with. I am in love with. I wouldn't have as many points as I do. I wouldn't stay at DVC resorts as often as I do if I didn't love it. The product almost seems impervious to incompetence to a certain degree, except at Boulder Ridge, where they can't seem to get the rooms rehabbed. But, all right, there you have it. That's a look at what's going on at the new Top of the World Lounge. That will do it for this week's episode of our show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week with another episode of The DVC Show.